seems like there's been a pretty large, I don't know what to call it, like event that's happened, and that we're hearing rumors of a lot of different organizations, some very large organizations, some even local, that may be, susceptible to kind of what's happening. So before we jump into that specific thing, can you just help me understand, like, what does it mean for there to be like an event, a security breach, or there to be something that's happening, and then maybe tie that into what this one looks like?
Sure. So, I mean, when we have what we would consider to be a security incident, or in this case, something we call a 0-day, which means that a system, a piece of software has been compromised and can be exploited by an attacker or someone who shouldn't be in that system. When we say 0-day, that means we basically have 0 days to prepare. That means that the attacker has the ability to exploit the system before there is any knowledge that the system is vulnerable to the public, which is what this is in this case. The vulnerability that we're probably going to be talking about today, basically an exploit or an attack was created for it prior to the entire industry or the public getting wind that the system was vulnerable, which means that the attackers have the leg up to begin with, which puts everyone in a very reactive and hyper active state and trying to get it addressed, because a lot of times software manufacturers and developers may not know. They may need to write updates for their code, for their software, and if there's being active attacks, that's very difficult. So that's why there's a ton of excitement and buzz going on right now because of this. The particular vulnerability that we're talking about today, which is kind of being dubbed by a number of names, but what you see most commonly is the Log4j vulnerability, is a piece of software that is used in a lot of web servers for logging. Not every web server, but in a lot of them, and it kind of creates logs. The reason why this has become such a major event is because the attack that is happening was 0 days. We had 0 days to prepare, but it is used in a very large number of systems. So the number of systems that are vulnerable is quite numerous, and there's a lot of them out there. So of course, everyone is scrambling because they've got a wide variety of targets to choose from, and we've got a large number of devices to try to mitigate. But
where would that live? So whenever you say it's a piece of software that, so where would this Log4j or 4J, I guess, sorry, what does that, where would that live at? Is it on my PC? Is it on servers? Is it on, it could be on anything? Like what does that do, and why they target it? Just because it's weak?
So, I mean, in this case, it's a challenge that everyone's dealing with right now, is that generally it's a part of a web server. So it's on what you would consider to be a traditional server. But a server can be a lot of things. Sometimes it can be just a small website that's on a small device, like a switch, or like a network switch, or like a copier in some cases. It just depends. What we would consider a traditional server isn't always the thing that you put in a secure data center, right? That has all the software on it. It's just anything that's hosting, kind of like a web server or service. And it's not just bound to that. That's just the most common use case for this exploit. But the Log4j piece of software is what we call a library. So it's a very small piece of code that is used by developers to help create logs for products. Sometimes those are diagnostic logs. Sometimes those are, audit logs, a number of things. And this particular piece of software is used to help enhance the kind of quality of the logs and collect data. And one of the features that's being exploited here is that it allowed some additional commands to be ran through this piece of software to help enhance logs that were not intended and are being used to kind of compromise the systems. That would be the long and short of it. But the reason why it is so alarming to everyone is because an attacker doesn't have to do anything significant to compromise the system. The way that it works in some cases, and this is an oversimplification, but if you have a website that uses this product and it's vulnerable, and for an attacker to compromise it, it's as simple as them just keying in a string of text or making a small modification to their internet browser and then redirecting these commands back to their own server. So they don't have to, break down any sort of technical like massive barriers. They don't got to have usernames and passwords in a lot of cases. They can sometimes compromise a system just simply by browsing to the website with this vulnerability, which is why it is extremely dangerous and very easy for attackers to get a hold of, especially with everyone reacting kind of on the back foot right now as quickly as they can. It was a rough weekend for a lot of cybersecurity professionals, kind of across the board, and will continue to be probably a pretty rough time.
Well, so as far as for Pearson-Kelly, like, what are we doing to try to mitigate this?
Sure. It's a challenge for us, just like it is for everyone, kind of across the board. But what we've done is, we started, of course, internally and making sure that all of our systems were either mitigated, patched, or secured, that we were aware of, that have this vulnerability. And then after that, we began taking the knowledge that we've collected from our partners and vendors and started calling all of our vendors to say, do you use this? Do you have exposure to it? If so, what have you done? So that we can make informed decisions on those products kind of moving forward for Pearson-Kelly and for our clients. We've since then taken that knowledge and began using it for our clients and applying workarounds, mitigations where we can, and informing them of what's going on and beginning to look at their vendors and their applications and helping them understand that this is a very difficult thing to know. Like there's not a giant checklist sheet that says whether or not you have Log4j being used somewhere, right? It's the software developer that knows that. So no one knows the software product better than the developer. So a lot of times we're relying upon the vendor to say, yes, we do use it. Yes, it's vulnerable or not. So in a lot of cases, we're trying to track those down, and as we kind of develop the repository and the community comes together to say, here's the people we've talked to, and the MSP community and just the information security community in general have started compiling very large running lists of public notices and information they've gathered from vendors to help us make a quicker response as we go forward to try to just mitigate these, because again, it is very difficult to know if a system uses it or not, because it's just a very specific component to a system, and it can be difficult to scan like for it. So a lot of times we have vulnerability scanners, and that's one of the things that Pearson-Kelly is looking to help with both internally and clients, is using a vulnerability scanner to help find possibly vulnerable systems. It's one additional tool, but it's not a silver bullet, right? I mean, it doesn't replace it. It just gives you one more thing to help find things that may be vulnerable in a network that we were unaware of. But we also have to take, like I said, it's not a replacement, right? So you can't say, hey, we ran the scan, everything looks good, we're good to go. Like, it's not a replacement in that regard. It's to help us find vulnerable systems faster that we may have not known yet at this point, or haven't had a chance to get to, so we can prioritize them.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. So just kind of just a recapture for people like myself, it sounds like then sometime over the weekend, there was something that was broadcast out, found a vulnerability in some type of software. It's something called Log4j.
Okay.
And so, is that right? Okay, good. And so we really have started since yesterday, been working on this. I know this weekend you were already looking into it. And so we do have a plan. Our ops team is on top of it, and we're doing the best that we can, just like everyone in the world is right now, as far as dealing with it piece by piece, as far as internally, our vendors, and then obviously our customers as well. And some people might say, well, why don't we just shut it off, or why don't we do this? That's not quite how this works. You have to be careful on how you go about doing this, and it's a learning process for us, because when they launched this, we had no preparation for it. There is nothing as far as being afraid, or hey, we have been hacked or something like that. We don't have anything so far that has come out on that side of it. But we are trying to be vigilant, because we never know when those things can happen, and there's no such thing as 100% guarantee of protection, right?
Correct. If somebody tells you that they can 100% guarantee that that they can protect you, then definitely question that for sure.
All right, man. Well, thanks. I really appreciate it. I hope this video is helpful for everybody, and we'll kind of keep you updated.